И снова всем привет, канал Робосерк ТВ. Продолжаем проходить Metal Gear Solid и начинаем вторую главу, вторую часть прохождения этой игры. Как будто бы все заново, как будто бы все сначала. Поехали. Эпизод 32. Слишком много знаний.
Find and extract the missing CIA agent. The target was laying low with the friendly Mujahideen during the vocal cord parasites incident. But may have headed back to OKB-0 after the Soviets recaptured it. Check the target's VI on your iDroid.
Наконец-то мы снова в Афганистане, мне как-то больше нравится. Именно здесь, чем в Африке. Так, как нам лучше идти? Ох, ты же нам далеко идти. Аж сюда. Нам сюда не нужно? Младшие металлы. Ладно, послушаем задание, посмотрим. Агент ЦРУ, вот он. Эвакуируйте этого крота. Слушаем.
The agent that the CIA had working for them inside OKB-0 has gone missing. We've been given the job of finding and extracting him. The target learned of XOF's plans to use vocal cord parasites and had hidden himself with the CIA's Mujahideen allies. But following Skullface's death, the Soviets retook OKB-0 and all contact with the target was lost. He may have tried to go back to OKB-0, but even Langley isn't sure what's going on. After all, they've never even learned of Skullface's plan. That's probably what they want to get out of the man once he's extracted. But we can't allow Langley to learn of the existence of the vocal cord parasites. That's why I want you to bring the target out, boss. Once we have him, we can report him dead and keep him on base. All contact with Langley is being conducted through a cutout. Our reputation should remain intact. As for the reward, it's already in the hands of the cutout. All you have to do is get the job done. Just like always. The target this time is a Soviet soldier who was passing information about his country's activities to Langley. He's the kind of scum I'd like to keep off Mother Base. But he knows about the parasites. We need to extract him to make sure neither the US nor the Soviets learn of their existence.
Я вот не знаю, что я здесь забыл, если честно.
Analysis complete. Analysis complete.
Может быть, специалиста забрать. Я много чего не могу разблокировать, потому что не хватает специалиста. Но сейчас ходить бегать по всей базе тоже не хочу. И нам не сюда. Стоит ли тратить время? Не знаю.
Analysis complete.
Миссия-то здесь. Тут много чего есть, различные материалы, но мне материалы не очень нужны. Вот этого мужика можно допросить, да и все, наверное. И уйдем отсюда. Он как раз стоит удобно. Главное, чтобы не двигался. 30 метров, может быть, этого забрать. Вот этого и заберем. Тут какие-то пленные. Так, они здесь разве? Да, здесь один пленный есть.
Marker removed. Marker placed.
137 метров. Все еще не знаю, стоит мне сюда идти. А, это, смотрите-ка, это манекен. Блин, прикольно. У них что, людей не хватает? Тут мало военных.
Analysis complete.
На удивление.
Clouds approaching.
Мне жалко, что в голову не попало, хочу дротики сэкономить. Он должен пойти спать. Тут слишком далеко. Тут как-то очень... Ага, это же...
Analysis complete.
60 метров надо успеть. Успели.
Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated.
Блин, долго будет идти. Это настоящее? Не видно. По-моему, манекен. А, он ушел. Никто не заметил. Касочка осталась одна. А где тот, который я говорил? Вот этот. Манекен. Как будто бы у них солдат не хватает. Этот ушел? Тогда это быстро мы сделаем. Собственно, я уже пришел. 16 метров. Что я хотел сделать? Отключить? Смысл есть? Я хочу домой. Я уже пришел. Без паники. Тут могли быть люди, которых я не заметил. Ага, он здесь. Как туда попасть?
You have arrived at your destination.
Тут же был охранник.
Caution. Sandstorm approaching.
Тут никого нет. Мы же на этой базе уже были в свое время. По-моему. Они используют те же самые локации, то есть это та же самая карта. Услышали? Да, вроде нет. Так, как к нему спуститься-то? Эту штуку не сломать? Раньше ломали мы. Но у меня глушителя нет. Что он здесь делает? Он спиной стоит.
Clouds approaching.
На второй этаж пошел. Возвращается другой охранник. Где этот? 4 метра прямо надо мной. Блин. Это я, что ли, нечаянно? Вроде нарисован враг. Вот этот вот. Откуда они берутся? Как будто бы враг. Смотрите, но у него руки связаны. Странно. А нет, это все-таки враг. Ладно, уходим. Еще один. Точнее, еще двое. Все, можно отсюда уходить и идти делать миссию. Собственно, можно было метку не ставить. А пленник никакой информации не рассказал, так что можно было и не спасать его. Так, мы прибежали. Тут серьезно. Я не успею. Хотя... Стоп, а я не могу на фултоне его просто? Чё, миссия и закаточка. А если бы не успел, его бы отвезли куда? Вот сюда, да, вот сюда. Здесь была бы защита сильнее. Куда мне бежать на D? Стоп, этот не может кататься? Этот не катается. Жалко. Блин, на машине было бы быстрее. Беда. Да, миссия изи каточка. Но рейтинг, конечно, S не дадут, мне же заметили. Рейтинг Б, ну да. Ну, а как по-другому, не знаю. Тут дым, по идее, должен был дым всех накрыть, но он сразу начинает ко мне бежать. Может, как-то и можно было. Либо обогнать их, когда они конвоем ехали, взорвать первого. Да, если взорвать первого, будет тревога, но меня же не заметят. И потом, когда они будут в панике, закидать дым. Наверное, как-то можно по стелсу сделать.
The target filled us in on what's been going on. He betrayed the Soviets, passing information to Langley, but got scared after learning XOF used the vocal cord parasites. Then came feelings of guilt that his leaks sent comrades to their deaths, and fear that America might deploy such a weapon itself. But in reality, XOF and Langley don't have a collaborative relationship, and Skullface was not working for America. Still, I can't blame the man for being afraid. After laying low with the Mujahideen, he tried to cut his ties with the US and return to the Soviet military. But along the way, someone came after him, and he was forced back into hiding. Could have been remnants of XOF looking to silence him. And you know the rest. He doesn't seem to know much about the parasites, but nevertheless, it'd be too dangerous to hand him over to Langley or the Soviets. We'll keep him here as originally planned.
Так, послушаем, мы, наверное, послушаем кассеты. Ух ты, это которого я нечаянно эвакуировал? Неплохо. А, плюс-плюс, что-то какие-то серьезные ребята, а нет, трое Б было. Что-то случилось. Стоп, это все? Нафига я сюда пришел? Но, видимо, можно попасть к этим детям, возможно. Мне как-то, я не знаю, плевать. Ладно, слушаем кассеты, да, и все. Вот тут хорошая информация про цель черепа, мировая реакция и вообще все, что с этим связано. Это очень важно для сюжета, как я считаю, поэтому это и послушаем. Конечно же, кто не хочет, можете видео уже закрывать. После этого будет конец серии, как обычно. В следующей серии послушаем еще про робота, собственно, про сахилантропа этого. Но мне интересно именно про черепа послушать. Поехали.
You could say that, but you could also say he'd been dead for decades. What's that supposed to mean? Biologically speaking, it's hard to say how much was his life. Side effects from the treatment? No. The primary effect. Keeping a dying host alive as long as possible. That is the whole point. But in the end, he grew too dependent on his children. As if he had any other way to keep on living. He first underwent parasite therapy before the Soviet Union became his home. His body was horribly burned. Fire washed across his thin young frame and stole his skin and his throat, even his lungs. Only through repeated therapies could the parasites keep him alive. Most of his life, became something the parasites gave to him. And then he lost the ability to die. That is correct. The parasites live on past the host's death, still aiding cell composition. At that stage, there is no way to extract them from the host cells. There is no way of knowing when the last cell of Skullface's body would die. The only choice was to burn the whole thing. And his children, along with it. And I am one to talk. When my life is snuffed out, I expect you to treat my body the same way. And when I burn, I will truly be one with my children for the first time. You say there were 3 English vocal parasites. According to Skullface, yeah. Skullface had 2 of the English strain with him. You burned both of them. There was an oil fire. I tossed him in. So that just leaves 1. And you tell me Skullface said he used it. He said it was very close to me. Very close. One of your comrades. Or someone ordered to kill you. Or he could have been speaking metaphorically. Metaphorically? Close to your spirit. Close to your heart. Someone who either loves you or despises you. The second one makes a long list. Whichever it is, act with caution. Skullface implanted someone with the English language strain. Who it is irrelevant. Why? I tell you what Skullface really meant. Very close to you means you will be exposed. All the infected here have been given the Wolbachia. Even if the vocal cord parasites infect them now, they cannot reproduce. But if there's a different host among us, host to the English strain, if that were the case, we'd see the symptoms. What about the non-English speakers? We have plenty of those, but the staff use English as a common language. But if that someone has not spoken English yet, and begins to speak it now, there'd be another outbreak. The final mating pair of the English strain must be found immediately. Skullface is gone, but his threat still remains. On this base, do you see what the final mating pair is? With him dead, those parasites are the stain he wished to leave upon the world. His thirst for vengeance. In the flesh. Think. Does anyone here bear a grudge against you? Who would target you, specifically?
The ethnic cleansers that Code Talker mentioned, they weren't Skullface's true goal. All we have is circumstantial evidence, but here's my theory. It was Cypher who started developing the vocal cord parasites as bioweapons, parasitic weapons, and Africa was the testing ground for them. As Code Talker said, their purpose is the ethnic cleansing of only those who speak a particular language. So they could do a weapon of mass destruction to eradicate specific groups, races, ethnicities, or colonies by the language they speak. Or a kind of absolute language control. Or maybe a tool for those arrogant fools to build some misguided utopia. I can see plenty of uses for them. However, in practical terms, they wouldn't be as dangerous as you'd think. Counteracting the parasites is easy, after all. Cut them out of your throat to save your life, or just don't talk. That also prevents the infection from spreading. So if the international community were to find out about them, they'd no longer be the threat they were conceived to be. In which case, their targets would be limited to minority groups as a deterrent or a terrorist tool. It's hard to imagine Cypher developing something like that as a main weapon for their arsenal. That leads me to think we've only tugged on one little thread in Cypher's grand tapestry. An obscure corner of their work, possibly forgotten altogether. In any case, things changed. When Skullface was forced to relocate to Africa and he saw that thread dangling. All the time he continued that research, he was secretly following his own agenda. The ethnic liberator parasites, his English language strain. Skullface said there were only 3 samples of the English language strain parasite, and I think we can believe him. Bringing his ethnic liberator's plan to fruition depended on creating an English version of the vocal cord parasites at all costs. But an English strain would have been useless to Cypher. Worse, it could have destroyed everything they'd built. It was the one type they couldn't allow. That means Skullface was forced to develop his English strain out of sight of Cypher's network. Naturally, he couldn't use the greenhouse facility Cypher had set up and filled with guinea pigs. Skullface must have found some secret place to create his precious few English parasites, hiding all evidence like a man cheating on his wife. Somewhere, an entirely standalone environment. And when his plan entered its final phase, he must have made the place disappear. Some little room, could be anywhere, but now nowhere at all. We'll never know where he did it. But to elude Cypher's surveillance, it couldn't have been big. I believe Skullface was telling the truth. There were only ever 3 samples of the English language strain. Why activate Sahelanthropus in Afghanistan? This is how Skullface wanted things to play out. The Soviet Union secretly develops a new type of nuclear weapon and successfully deploys it in Afghanistan. Revealing the existence of Sahelanthropus results in a return to the glory days of the Cold War. The threat it poses reignites the nuclear arms race between the world's major powers. The demand for nuclear weapons increases around the globe. What if you then introduced a nuclear weapon anyone could get their hands on? Non-nuclear nations, militant groups of all shapes and sizes, they'd all jump at the chance. Sahelanthropus was a marketing tool to sell nukes all around the world. But I think it's safe to say that plan was stamped out before it got up and running. The world's intelligence agencies never did turn up anything conclusive on it. After all, Sahelanthropus vanished before word could spread. Everything that's happened is already a fading memory, never to join the pages of history. Except for Cypher. Cypher won't forget. They'll already be working on something, quietly, beneath the surface. They'll use the pieces of data scraped together from this incident to build their own bipedal weapon. It'll take them a long time to complete it, but for now, the greed sector have found their new life's work. We'll have to be ready too. Hewitt's dug up some interesting facts about our skull-faced friend. 9 years ago, he was exiled to South Africa, stripped of political power. The upshot's that he ceased being a serious threat, in Cypher's eyes anyway. They eased up on surveillance, giving him an opening to establish his own military unit, one that answered to his will alone. Those men likely had no idea their orders were coming from Skullface. They probably didn't even know the organization was a part of Cypher at all. Anyway, it was in South Africa where he found renewed interest in parasites. And when he discovered the vocal cord parasites, he began to make his plan. Wipe the English language out of existence. Free the world, not by taking men's lives, but by taking their tongues. In his eyes, the greatest symbiotic parasite the world's ever known isn't microbial. It's linguistic. Words are what keeps civilization, our world, alive.
There was something Skullface said. America is made up of many peoples, but those peoples never mix. Quite so. One nation, home to hundreds of different ethnic groups, many of whom stick to their respective living areas. Little colonies, not interacting with other groups, going out of their way to avoid one another, their land, organizations, relationships. Thus, the United States of America is no melting pot. It is more of a salad bowl. It is not made up from one people, but for its minorities to function in society, a common ground is needed. Language. Even if the country is not one. No, because it's not one, a lingua franca is necessary. English. American hegemonism was born from the illusion that English could unite diverse ethnicities. In taking in people from around the globe, America became a microcosm of it. Now the boundaries between it and the rest of the world have become blurred. However different our neighbors may be, English enables us to create symbiotic relationships with each other. If English can bring unacquainted neighbors together in America, this should hold true for the world. This salad bowl that is the world can also become one.